Welcome along to the latest in OTB Sports GAA Roadshows in association with SuperValu, who are asking GAA fans all across the country to support where you are from. You can check out their Facebook page. That's facebook.com/SuperValu Ireland for lots of competitions over the coming weeks. We have got some brilliant guests coming away across the course of the championship, some true legends of the game. And right now, we're going to hear from two of them. 11 All-Ireland titles between them. Some epic battles that have really defined Gaelic football over the last decade. Their two counties of Dublin and Kerry. I'm going to hand you over to Bernard Brogan. And first, Kieran Donaghy.
Cheers, Nathan. Thanks a million for having me on. Looking forward to talking to Bernard. I read the book, Bernard. Firstly, congrats on it. It's a brave thing to do. It's not easy. I've been there. We both did it with Kieran Shannon. How did you find it? How did you find the sign-off? We'll say I know there's a big sign-off where you do that read-through and probably get one or two family members to do a read-through. How did you find that whole sign-off stage?
It was heavy, Kieran. Thanks for having me on. It was one of the most nervous things I've ever done, genuinely. You bare your soul, as you know. You bare your soul in your book. You try and tell your story. You want people to, I suppose, enjoy it or take something from it. And obviously I was in the middle of COVID, signing off ours. We had the challenges of two babies running around at home trying to work, and in the evening times I was kind of editing chapters and stuff. And then the time came when you have to push the button, and I was like, twice I asked for more days because I wanted my family to read it again. And I had an old school teacher of mine having a look at it from a tone point of view. And but you know yourself, it kind of makes it very real, that moment. But it was a great experience though, to relive some of the memories that I'd forgotten about when we brought in Paul Flynn and Eamon Fennell and Ross McConnell, my good pals in Dublin, to share some of the old stories and bring up some memories, Declan Lally, and those were great conversations and great memories to live them again.
I think Kieran is good at that, and he did the same with me, you know, and it is true for you. It's the reciting stuff that you've almost forgotten along the journey, unearthing stuff that maybe meant more than you actually thought it did. But when you actually start looking at your time frame and your development as a player, you start finger pointing to stuff that you didn't really think about. Did that happen to you? I know it got me with a few different things. Yeah,
and it kind of makes you think about where did the energy come from during the journey? As you say, we both won All-Irelands, multiple All-Irelands, and that's amazing. But I'd say you're probably the same. Is that was never what kept you going, what got you up early in the mornings, what you do, the fitness tests and all of the challenges and the weights and all the hours we put into it. It was never about just that All-Ireland medal. It was about the memories, the crack, the hard work and the camaraderie you built through hard work, the celebrating, the success. So all of those things, you say, pointing at kind of those times in your life, and you're like, geez, that was magic. That's what made it all worthwhile.
I've read it really good. I'm going to delve into I listened to you in the late. I've listened to you with Ger. Especially with Ger, you kind of went through your career and I want to dip into the end of it. It's not the most pleasant for you, but I think it's actually the bit that actually sums up your character more than ever. And that's the bit I want to delve into, if that's okay with you. But I want to talk about the 2019 league final. You're not in it. That week of training, it sounded epic. It read epic, and not epic in a good way. How was that week afterwards, where you were put to the test? You were brought out early morning sessions, and was it a good reminder of we're not where we want to be, because we're not in the league final, but we are going to be where we want to be at the end of the year?
Yeah, like we've been very lucky. Obviously, had an amazing team, an amazing journey, and Jim is a great leader and a very driven man, and his attention to detail was phenomenal. And that league final where we didn't make it into it in 2019, and Jim made us feel it. Every day we trained early, we worked hard together, and we did a lot of fitness tests. We kind of made up for it. And he said, "I want you to feel where with the pain. You should be doing a nice little kick around coming into a game on a Sunday." And instead, we were training very hard. But we built a lot of resilience about it. We had some great honest conversations. I think it really stood to us, and kind of got us. Sometimes when you're having a bit of success, you can maybe meander a bit. Yes, you're always obviously trying to perform to your best, and you have to beat the teams that you're playing. But it was a real important, I think, part of the journey. As you say, you kind of understand that you're looking at the nuggets that might have made a difference in getting over the line at the end. It was definitely one of them as a standout. If we had a roll through the National League again, but win a lot of the games, and another National League title coming into a championship, into a Leinster that we kind of have got through pretty easily over the last number of years. We might have got caught on the bounce, but that gave us a real opportunity to soul search. A lot of us, I was half thinking about retiring. After that National League, obviously hadn't played much.
Yeah.
I had some real hard conversations. Paul Flynn, actually the boots, and I kind of just some of those sessions kind of just made me feel it. Kind of personally, it made me feel, put a lot of perspective on what we're trying to do and what's important to a team at that level. And it's not about your individual. It's not about, for me, it was, I've had the greatest days ever, scoring goals into the hill and all day and stuff. And for me, I kind of just that week, and Keegan did a great session on what it's about and why we're here and what it means to be here and what's important to you. And Ollie just had a magical session out in Clontarf Castle, sticks with me. And that was the decision. Like he said, draw a line in the sand and step over it. And that for me was like, right, I'm just going to try and do what I can for the team, be it on the pitch or be it off the pitch. I'm going to it's only probably 3 months, probably 12 weeks left, and we'll be a long time retired, as we both know. So that was a real poignant moment in my career. And I suppose the summer taught me so much. I had some of the most challenging times, as you would have seen in the book, about being left out of internal games and not getting to, like, obviously that first All-Ireland before the replay, I was retired. Like the games, usually the games are buried without a replay. So fundamentally, I was done. And in fairness, I got back for the final replay, which is great. And really, obviously, it's brilliant to be there and part of the history. But on another day, that might not happen. That game could have been decided win or lose on the first day. So I learned a lot about myself in the last year. Obviously, I thought I knew it all. I've been around high performers for a long time, done a lot of work on mindfulness, on performance and leadership. And God, I've only truly learned the value of culture, of leadership, of humility more so. Obviously, I was a striker and born to be selfish and try and get scores like that and take on the opportunity. But yeah, it was an interesting journey.
Did you, we'll say, I was fascinated by the Gary bit at the end in the castle and getting the standing ovation and you going up to him. I don't know, was it a difference in the times? I remember when I was starting out my Kerry journey, we'll say that mid-noughties to the end, where we played 6 finals in a row, and you know, that group that I was a part of, we tried the whole mental, you know, the mental edge and speakers and really good and really talented people that were excellent at what they'd done. But, you know, we guys like Darragh O'Shea, who's kind of walking around the place going, Jesus Christ, this fella isn't going to tell me anything that I don't know about myself. I'm 34, I've been there, I've done it, and been vocal about it, you know, in groups and pods, and maybe fellas like myself, impressionable, kind of fall into that line of thought. And this is why I wanted to read your book so much, because it was the first out of this Dublin team, and I was trying to get a real insight into what you're about. And yes, this culture word is branded, and this talk is branded around, but I wanted to try and get a bit of an insight into what it was, and I did. And I'm just wondering if a Gary or a guy came into the Dublin setup back in 2006 and 7 when you were a young fella, into Senil Conlon and Wheelo and the boys, the buy-in seemed unbelievable with the group that you had that were so successful. I'm wondering, would that buy-in have been there in the early days? Was it a sign of the times, or were we ignorant maybe back in the day to it? Because it's clear from your book, you had an amazing bunch of players. We had a really strong bunch of players at that time. We got caught in a few of these tight games. You got through them. I'm just wondering, do you think the correlation is maybe more so on all that work that yourself and even the likes of Kevin Mack and Macaulay, guys that were buying into it on a professional level as well? It actually, I always thought you were just the best players and you always figured out a way. But the more I read it, I was like, this stuff, there's so much more to this that maybe other teams aren't tapping into enough or aren't believing in enough, or maybe I'm just a dinosaur.
You're 100% right. I remember, like back in 2006 or 7, I was new in the team and impressionable, and we were trying to do the mindfulness and trying to do the mindset, the coaching and stuff like that. And I remember we had to ring each other. I was partnered with Kieran Donaghy. So we had to ring each other after training, and me there a wet week wasn't even playing or close to playing. And I had to ask Kieran Donaghy how you're doing and how you finding yourself. And you had a good week of training. And I'm on the phone kind of going, Kieran Whelan's like, after coming home from work, like going, what? Like to ring this.
Yeah.
And
that's exactly what I mean. Like, that's it. Like, isn't it in a way like that you're even feeling like that? But from reading the book and reading the end of the story, there was nothing kind of worried or fake or about it, or we have to do this and I'll try and do this. It seemed like it was a real major part of what you were about.
It became what we felt was our competitive advantage. And yeah, as you said, not similar to you, that we had people and older people, even Alan and that mightn't have been as bought into it. But as the team evolved, and we started with certain things and yoga, and some people liked it, some people didn't. Started with doing some breathing, then started some speakers. We layered it over time and got deeper and deeper as we went.
Who was behind the bulk of that, Bernard? Who was driving that? The fact that everybody was buying into it so much. And I know I've heard you say the players drove it, but there must have been some guy pushing it initially that everybody bought into it so much.
We would have tried it, and Pillar would have tried it initially. Pat would have been very good at people and psychology and stuff like that, and we would have had some, like yourselves, have somebody in talking to us, bought into it in a certain context. Gary Keegan was probably talked to us about the process the first time, 2013. We were coming into the All-Ireland final, and he just resonated so well with us. He kind of just brought an energy and a reality to the situation. He brought a real. He's an old boxing. He literally throw jabs in the talk, and he just real. The way he delivered it was just so poignant and just hit us between the eyes, and Jim really bought into it. And then it was like repetition. Jim was using his words and saying his process and saying this and literally attention to detail and just really driving it into our mentality. And then just some players just got a hold of it, like influential players that bought into it. Like Kev Mack.
That's the key.
Yeah, that's key. Like Kev Mack.
That's key, getting the big guys in, yeah.
Led a lot of our meditations. Mick McCauley as well. They both do it in their professional lives. Kevin Mack is working with the Olympic boxers now. Look, he's gone down that route of performance, and that just shows how invested they would be to actually change their careers to go after this space, and to see he saw so much value out of it for himself. He had his own challenges, and he talks about them openly around imposter syndrome. And even though he was one of our greatest assets, as you know well, but he always had that, am I good enough? Should I be here? And then he figured out how to get himself into such a good mindset that he could come onto a game 5 minutes ago and actually add value. Like, how many times have we seen people come on and meander and the game's over? He was a guy that just had such a mental resolve that he could switch the game, and obviously a couple of times against you guys, come on, got goals, just energy against Donegal in that game. That's the original mass defense game.
Massacre. The original massacre.
He came into that game and changed the game. He got 2 goals. He won one of frees, got a score. Like, he had a mental resolve, and it worked for him on the pitch, whatever he was doing. And his initial talks, I remember, I don't know who was it Anne-Marie, who talked him through his kind of imposter syndrome and how to get over that. And he saw the results, and he believed in it. And as people like that who were very influential in the group, Michael R. McCauley, who's, as you know, is basketballer, laissez-faire, the most relaxed man in the land, but he buying into meditations and mindfulness around the group. A young guy is only like, wow, I want to soak that up. I want a piece of that.
Yeah.
And it takes time and transition. And as I said, it was layered, and some of the older guys that mightn't have been as into it moved on, as in, like, just sometimes it happens, and there's a fresh group, and maybe the influencers in the group are driving a message. And remember Jim Gavin said to me, like, when I was retiring, handing in the badge, he said that one of the things that sticks out to him is in 2013, and it's probably to Pat's credit, that when he came into the group, there was such just openness to learn and to just get on with his ideas, and just happy to be there kind of thing. And as the players wanted to just do the right thing. There's no ego. We'd won All Ireland obviously in 2011. We obviously lost in 2012, but we were still just, he was the manager, he was the job. He never felt the senior players pushed against him or anything. We literally just like were on the journey for the man. How do we do it? And I think that's that humility piece, and something that it's very hard, and it's not as you say, Darragh O'Shea, one of the greatest Kerry footballers ever. It's not because he was egotistical or he was anything that he pushed against it. It's just a mindset, or it's just an intrinsic kind of experience that you just kind of have to try and build out of people, you know. And
I'm using Darragh O'Shea, but like, because I can remember him kind of getting out about it, but like, I'm even going right up to, I played to 18, and we weren't really doing as much as from reading your book as you were doing in it. And I just think you call it your competitive edge. You know, I'm just looking at it going like, you know, this must be this has to be a must for teams to try and layer this in. So look, that was also the whole that week's training that you did. You could tell the mindset that was going on. I love the scene you painted when James McCarthy's walking around with his fist clenched and he's going, fucking love it, lads, love it. Love this kind of the Bronco test. I think you were doing, like, you know, crazy. I know them, they're nightmare. But ye Dogs of War, were they, you know, the Dogs of War I'm talking about, the guys you'd see it every week for on the pitch. They were probably the same guys that were going around like him, driving it on in training. The standard in training was never let slip because your squad was so strong. But I think your leadership and that group, your core values really strikes home to me that it was never going to be a load slip, hence why 5 in a row was possible. There was no slip, there was no letdown. Like, you're talking about not being in a league final in 19 as a kind of a slip. Like, you know, normally it's you losing an All-Ireland semi-final or something like that. That core group of guys, they were a special bunch of talent, but I think from the mental side of it, and then also the physical side of it, like the changes in some of the players. Like, I marked James McCarthy in 2011 final like he was a lat, you know. Come 2013, you call him a silverback gorilla at stages in the book. There was a real, it seems like you had all the talent and wonderful, like, generational team. But what I didn't fully understand or get with you was that I feel that the strength and conditioning and the weights and the mental prep is what actually got you over the line so many times. And the physical side is amazing.
Yeah, and as you say, every team is probably running the same. Every team is doing the same amount of hours, albeit Dublin, we maybe don't have to travel as much as some people do in different counties, but we were always looking for where can we get our competitive advantage. And that's where, when we went on that journey of mindset, it was like, are other teams buying into this? We doubt that they were at the level we were, and the buy-in, as you say there, even up to 17, 18, you felt that you wouldn't have been at that level of mindset or mindfulness or whatever the words were. No. Sometimes they're fluffy words, but when you're talking about that competitive edge, about, as you said, getting over the line, and all it ever does, all these things do, as you say, the extra weights, the extra training, the going out on your own kicking balls, the mindset, the visualization, all they do is provide that much, like not even an inch. But when there's a game that goes on for a long time, for 70, 80 minutes, and you said you're in 6 finals and some of them slipped and you finished other ones, like, it's only a kick of a ball usually that was. Yeah. It was one kick of one ball in 80 minutes. Yeah. There was 1,000 kicks in that game, and one bit of brilliance or just a mental resilience or lack of fatigue to not make the mistake at the end when you need it. And that's it. It's just at that last couple of minutes, who's making the right decisions when everyone's fatigued, everyone's knackered, people are starting to get dehydrated. Who has that up there to just finish the job at the end? And that's the difference, I suppose, when you look at that Dublin team getting 5 in a row and There's loads of games that are very close. There's 2 or 3 replays in there as well. You know what I mean? So it was.
And 100%, I get the close games, and I get the way you eked out the All-Ireland finals, whether it was the draws against Mayo when you didn't play well, or even last year against Kerry, you would have probably said you didn't play to your standards the first day and you played more like him the second day. But where the strength and the weights and the mental side of it, where that comes in for me was the constant hammerings of everybody in Leinster that tried to go near you. You know, we were down in Kerry, we could be playing Waterford or something, and, you know, we'd be sluggish. Like, you never had that. And again, this is what further set it home to me about the shape you're in, the mental wave you were in. The football, like, once you have the football, then it's very easy. But I think it was the correlation, and I think huge credit has to go to you as a senior group in driving that on, and obviously Jim as the management. And it doesn't go any further than, you know, 2019 was so tough in many ways. Look, it ended with you in front of the hill, and, you know, it was a nice kind of, it was just reward because, you know, the A versus B teams, you know, you're number 31, you take your few balls, you go up to the top of the pitch. Was there was there much communication with you during that period? Because that's what I found when I went from being, you know, a high, you know, so-called lead main guy for the team to being a sub, to being not coming on. You know, there was one championship game against Galway where I wasn't brought on at all, and that was like the first time in 10 years where I was on the bench at the start of the game and finished on the bench. How difficult was all that, just for you, and just you as a person, like your own mood and probably Gary's stuff, probably the difference between, you know, you getting that phone call off Jim Gavin when you have to pull over the car, and it's kind of like a case of, you know, you're not on the bus for the semi-final against Mayo. Like if that's 10 years ago, if that's another guy in another county that has done so much for the county at that stage, probably it's a case of good luck and I'm gone, and the head would just go, like you'd be just so disappointed by it. But your answer, up and kick, come down, do a bit of a warm-up, do the old Dennis Rodman, start stretching in front of Phil Jackson just to remind him that you're ready to come in and play. And you came on in that A versus B game, you were down 4 points. You know, you went to that training after that call, did the whole training, you did the breathing stuff, you went in with your Mick Fitzsimons afterwards, you know, like that level, because, you know, I got dropped for the 15 final as captain as well, and I didn't have the expertise around the mental side to deal with it, but my positive nature and the way I was as a person got me through it, is in the point of view, it's okay, I'm going to be on one of the games in the melting pot, there's no problem here. But it was always something that it was a struggle, and the biggest struggle for me is the lack of communication. So I'm just looking for, what was your level of, you know, a hand around the shoulder, a bit of a chat. Look, I know it looks bad now, we're thinking about you, or was it kind of the cold turkey kind of treatment and figure it out yourself?
Yeah, unfortunately, it usually is the case for the reason, which is you don't realise it in yourself, but there's a lot of things going on in training. There's a lot of players that need the arm around the shoulder. There's a lot of things that need to be done, and when you're number 31 or 33 in the management's mindset, you just don't have the time to devote to the communication. So yeah, it was a lonely place that day. As sun was shining, you know, those days when a neighbour speak game or an internal game, and it's a Saturday afternoon, sun is shining, grass is cut, and you just are gunning for two teams. Like, that's nearly as good as the championship. You know what I mean?
It is, and I'm trying to think, like, they had 6 inside forwards. Do you know what I mean? Like, you were, you know, I'm kind of going, like, Jesus, like the quality and the fighting for places would have been massive, like, you know, and when you're not even getting a chance to fight for it, that's worse again, because you're looking at 6 other guys that are doing something every time they get the ball.
That was the worst thing. Like, that was one of those days where, like, okay, this is the day when Bernard Brogan comes to the party and shows what he's about, and, like, I was geeing myself up for those days. That was my only opportunity to move the mindset of the manager. And, and then I'm number 31. I'm like, I can't even do that. So yeah, I just, like, it was like heartbreaking. And I went up to the top pitch and kicked a few balls over the bar and played 5 minutes at the end when my head was up my ass at that stage. You know what I mean? And then you're trying to be, like, as you say, you're trying to keep that positivity. And I've been good at that over the years. Like yourself, I'm a positive person, and try and put the best foot forward. So it was more for the group. I didn't want the group to look at me and look at me sulking or watch me throwing toys out of pram or having a go at Jim in front of them. I just felt this is not how I want to be remembered. I want to be remembered whether I peter out and don't get involved, but I don't want anyone to say, "Jeez, Bernard Jim at a bus stop and he should have played, but he actually wasn't playing well." So I didn't know where I obviously believed in myself. Otherwise, I wouldn't be there. But you never really know how well you're doing in comparison to other people or what people think. Like if I ask a player, "Do you think I'm playing well?" They're like, "Yeah, you play well." Like they're not going to tell you the honest truth. If you're playing crap, they're going to say you're playing all right.
Yeah.
You never want to have someone say, "Geez, Bernard was fighting with Jim. I'm sure he's miles off anyway." You know what I mean? And that would be the worst.
Was there much from guys? Was there much from J or other selectors? Did anybody go near you when you were up kicking around, or was it a case of that was where you were going just to kind of keep loose and keep warm and try and keep ready?
Yeah.
Like was there other guys that weren't? There was obviously probably a few more fellas that weren't on the 30.
There was one day I was the only one, which is the one that stuck out. Without a couple of times there was a couple of injured lads and things, but there was one day that sticks out that it was literally 31 players fit. The others were in the gym, and I was the number one off the top. So it was a tough one. But no, to be honest with you, you had to figure it out yourself. The players, obviously, it was players said to me that they felt it was a bit jarring. It felt it was a bit, that's a big statement, isn't it? Be it positive or negative, or be it, is that what the Jim do it on purpose or not to prove a point?
Yes.
And, lessons of leadership and all that. But couple of people.
What would be your advice for the 17-year-old that's dropped off the minor squad, or the guy that's been playing with his county team for 10 years and gets dropped? A realistic thing to dial in and focus in on. For me, it was, I asked the question, like, why wasn't I brought on against Galway? Why wasn't I this? And something that was kind of said to me was maybe something around mobility or your tackling, if a full back goes off or whatever. And like literally for that next 2 sessions, I demanded answers, and when I got them thrown at me, my main focus in the next 2 sessions wasn't about catching ball, wasn't about setting up goals or kicking a few points. It was literally like, I'm going to try and tackle 20 fellas here. So, I nearly prefer that from a management to come, look, you're not on the 30 today. You need to work on A, B, and C, and we'll look at you later on in this game. But it's the lack of that, and having to go look for it is the killer. So for a guy that is on a county panel and that isn't getting the crack or was a big player and is not anymore, what is the one kind of thing you'd say? Keep it simple. This is what you should try and do to get yourself back in, because we were both trying that.
Yeah, when I tried to reinvent myself and thinking that was the answer, to be a pivot man and bring people into it, and might have the legs to do all the hard stuff that a Mannion could do, but trying to be different. And what actually proved to be, I went back to what I was best at and went back to my strengths. Is why am I here? So if you're in a county panel or you're part of something, you're there for a reason. You're there because you have a strength in a certain position or place, or you have a certain ability. And I went back that training session, and I'm sure you read it, that I played well and scored 4 points in. I just went back to what I did. I got the ball. I looked at Connacht. It was a week before that. I was in a game and I went through on goal and was trying to be this provider, and I was one-on-one with the keeper, and I went for the hand pass for the palm goal, and I went for O'Gara, and I went too high and he missed it. And I was like, I went for a day. I was thinking about it. I was like if Connacht Callan was in that position, that was buried. Like, it says, what am I here? Like, get after it. Take what's yours. Get involved. And then the next training session, I got four balls. I just turned, and I just went at the goal. And set up. We just myself. I think with myself, O'Gara and Dean were just in that training session, and we put up 12 score, 12 points, or 1-11 in 20 minutes, something like that. It was just one of those days. We just all went for it,
clicked,
and just clicked. And I was like, why? Jim said to me when I retired, he says, I was looking for that 6 weeks ago. And as I said, why didn't you bleed and tell me you're looking for that 6 weeks ago? Because doing that my whole life. I've been trying to change you, or because no one's telling me what to do, or
exactly. But just that if someone came to you and said, "Listen, Bernard, we need you to be that sharpshooter and kick 6 or 7 points here," like that's a good focus to give a guy going into the game. I think like really going after fellas and calling fellas out and being really honest with fellas, I think is for me, it's the best way to go to try and get to, you know, at least if you say, look, you're not doing it, you're not winning enough breaking ball, and you're not doing this, at least then he can go out and concentrate and win it. But 2019 was, the way you handled it was unbelievable, because for all of us looking in, we're like, what's going on? What's this about? Is, you know, this is tough, and it is. And like, Jim is unbelievable. Like what a manager, from reading the book. And yeah, you had your tough times at the end, but like, just the ultimate overall respect, and the way he handled that team throughout the whole journey of the 7 years was amazing. But your realization, and I'll read it to you at the end of the father and son chapter, I think is unbelievable. It's when you're at home watching, and when Mayo are like really in the game, really playing well, and then the boys just come out and Con gets the goals, and it's over, like, and it's an unbelievable show from Mayo. And you say it's actually scary. Mannion is just still 26, so is Kieran, Kilkenny and Fenton. Jack is just 25. Con is only 23. It's their world, their team. Everyone else just lives in that world. And yet this is a 35-year-old at home with the kids and still wants to find his place and break into that team, though time is running out. Like, so like when I'm saying you know, like when you're a sub or you're not getting on is one thing, but when you're looking at what these guys are doing, you know, it does kind of get you to you're only trying to guide them along. You're trying to help them win more medals. You love to be a part of it, absolutely. But your overall is, I want to leave where these guys say, fuck, you know, Bernard was really good teammate. He went through really tough last year, but it never fazed him. He helped me with this, he helped me with that. Again, all adding to that team bond that you had, built on the holidays over the years, built on everything over the years. But like, where's the limit? Where's the sky for this current Dublin team? Because I said this on Sky Sports last year, they're going nowhere. The age profile is ridiculous.
Yeah, I think the year that's in it is going to be a challenging one, and it's maybe an opportunity for other teams to take a swing at them. You know, as you say, there are a lot of those names other than Jack. I think guts of 18 or 19 of the team is there, and there's been a couple of, obviously, Dermot's left and Butsy, myself and Owen, but we weren't playing massive amount of game time, you know. So
yeah,
the guts of that team is still there, and they're innovating, and they're thinking, whatever they are training, they're coming up with a solution or a way of controlling the game in a couple of weeks' times, you know. So if there's ever a time to do it, now is. But there'll always be a time, like as Five's next. I'm sure there'll be 5 or 6 retirees at the end of this year. Please God, Cluxton stays on. Cluxton's a big part of it, you know. Emma Comerford is a very classy second choice, and he'll fill a lot of that gap. But you know, there's some big players still there. So they're always, sport comes in cycles, you know. And look, Kerry had loads of eras of and points in time where no one could get near us. And this Dublin team is obviously very special. But they just need to, and what they've been good at is just, Jim was great at that. Building the next guy, bringing the next guy in, like empowering him to be the best. When Con came in, he was only young lad now. I know he's a special talent, but loads of other people that came in were just given an opportunity. They're in the team. People like me chasing their tail, gunning for them, just making them play better. You know what I mean? So
and I think, like Bill Belichick always says, know your role. It's a big thing of his you know. Know your job, do your job, know your role. And it was all like, you know, you look at the likes of, you know, maybe Gara, who didn't play much, but geez, when he played, he was a horse of a man. He led the line. He was aggressive. His body language was good. You were going to get nothing easy off him. You go Macaulay, you know, then you've Howard coming in now with Fenton. You're just the size and the athletic ability and the age profile. You know, when I was talking about 09, 010, like, we were starting to lose the Darragh O'Shea's, the Tomas O'Shea's. Ty Kennelly went back to Australia. Tommy went out to Australia. Mike McCarthy retired again for the second time. You know, we were losing those guys, but we didn't have, you know, we really didn't have it. Maybe that's something that Jim has done really well. Look, I'll finish it up because I could talk all day. I'll finish it up.
It's interesting.
I'll finish it up with a story about Mammy, because she's a class act and comes across great in it, and I've met her a few times. The story about the under-16 jersey is just, I can just see her, like, it's an absolute classic with dislocated shoulder. Just give people a touch, and I know you've talked about it before, so some people might have heard it, but just give us a bit of an insight into what gets into Mammy Brogan getting very upset.
GA mammy, yeah, they fight for their boys. They say, no, my mum and dad are great, and they're on the sideline of every game, and the big part of, I'm sure, our progression to the three of us as footballers. But one day I was playing, I never made minor, never made underage, and one of the days when I was 16, I did this game my shoulder trying to punch a ball in that I did later in life, but shoulder came off, and I went to the hospital, and they said, I have to cut that off you. Your obviously shoulders dislocated. And I said, no, it's Dublin jersey, so I want to keep this. I don't want to cut off me. That's just how much I love golf. So pulled it over all the hours and all that, and got it. And 3 weeks later, one of the management teams, management of the under-16s, rang my home, rang the old house phones back in the day, and said, "How you doing, Mr. Brogan? Oh, we're wondering, did Bernard have that number 23 jersey?" We're obviously looking, we're going into championship now, and my mum said, "Are you actually for real?" I says, "You ring me. My son broke his shoulder and spent the night in hospital, and has had his arm up in a sling for the last 3 weeks and the next 3 months. How dare you ring me?" And
yeah, where was the phone call the week after to say how is he?
How he is, he said, "He has the jersey and you're not getting it back." So that was
yeah, I'd love it. She did right too. And just on that early day, just before we go on that early days, did you deep down inside where, like, you know, your dad was obviously, and Alan was going well, and your dad was a legend of the game, and you weren't making these minors, and you know, I wasn't making the minors squad. I made it for one game, but technically I didn't really make the minor squad. I was called in last minute on a Wednesday night before an All-Ireland semi-final against Dublin on a Sunday. Where was your confidence, or you know, was that doubting, or was that waning around that time, that you were kind of going, Jesus, maybe I mightn't be the guy that makes it along with Alan and my dad?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was the jolt of a cruciate injury that changed, I suppose, the world. And sometimes when you're playing and you're getting disappointed and you're trying and then you're playing with the club, you meander through your day, and you train twice a week and you play a match on a Sunday and you're playing good or whatever. And you need to, if you want to do something, you have to work harder at it. And it's actually, Paul Galvin said, I heard him saying when he's a team in London, many people here own a bag of balls. They're asked about success, and not one of them put their hand up. He says, "You don't own a bag of O'Neill footballs or any footballs." I said, "How are you meant to be high performers?"
Yeah.
When I got injured, and I said, "How do I become better? How am I different? I want to be a different animal coming back from this." So I got stone and muscle. I actually took a bit of a growth. I was only 18 when I injured. I took a bit of a growth spurt. I injured my right knee, so I kicked for the last month. I kicked everything on my left foot on purpose, so I could have the standing knee and give it stability. And now, for my career, I was better striking the ball on the run on my left because of that, because I felt heavily than I was on my right. Obviously, I took freeze on my right, but an injury, I always say to people when they're injured, is how's this an opportunity? A different animal. And same if not an injury, if you're trying to change something, if you're not getting on a team or you're trying to do something, innovate, spark it up, do something. Either get out and work on a skill or work on something, or do something different. Do you know what I mean?
Because and never too late, because I wish I did. I don't know how I wish, but if I had a bad injury when I was young and I started kicking with my left leg, I might have been more of a dangerous option, because I was 31 when I had the osteopubis injury going on, and I couldn't kick with my right leg at all, and I had to kick with my left leg for like 8 or 9 months, and it went from being a leg I standed on to, you know, I got a few scores. I got a goal against Galway after it. I got a few pints I got a pint against Donegal after, but like I would have never really gone to it. I would have been always able to kick with it, but I would have never trusted it on a big day in Croke Park. But when the work is done, so yeah, picking out something to work on is a key one. Listen to me. Best of luck with the family over the Christmas. Retirement will rest easy on your shoulders, man, because you've done it all and you've been there all the way. And congrats on a great book and a great career. And when this COVID thing is settled down, we'll meet up for a pint in Dublin.
Kieran, thanks a million. Always a pleasure to chat to you.
There's brilliant stuff there from Kieran Donaghy and Bernard Brogan. You can watch all of our OTB Sports roadshows in association with SuperValu on all our social channels now, or just download the OTB Sports app. It's with SuperValu, who are asking all GAA fans over the coming months to support where you're from. If you want more information, check out facebook.com/SuperValu Ireland, and stick with OTB Sports, because we've got loads more of these brilliant roadshows coming away over the coming weeks, and you can keep right up to date with them there.